this? Do you remember this book I talked about last time? Yeah, the Skeleton Keys. Yeah, that's right. By the way, I went to the library again this afternoon, and I got 2 more books. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're gonna love it. But let's do this one first, alright? So come on, get your stuff ready, get your pajamas on, and finish in that bathroom finally. And fine, I'll do my shower after we're done with the book. Okay? Go on then. Oh, waiting. Typical waiting, isn't it? Oh, you're done finally. Great. Then sit back and enjoy. Right, so as you can see, this is a lovely book, and that's one of the characters. It's not a boy, it's actually a girl, but you find out about it soon enough. Right. And this is the keys. These are the keys. There are 10 of them, as you can see. It's so cool when I thought about it. So we have, for example, the key to oblivion. We have the key to possibility, the key to the kingdom, the key to a quick getaway, the key to imagination, and 5 more keys. We have the forbidden key, the key to second sight. That would be cool. The key to reality, the key to Darwinian. I don't really know that word. And the key to time. I would love to have the key to time. Although I don't know what I would do with it really. You know, with all those movies and books that we read, I wouldn't want to change anything in time, just in fear that something might happen. Anyway, so, and that's the guy who is the main character. His name is Skeleton Keys. Pretty. Okay, so what he says is, so you can see him when I read it to you. Greetings to TikTokers, Swiss cheeses, and hurlipots, to the imaginary and the unimaginary, to the living, the dead, and everyone in between. My name is Keys, Skeleton Keys. Ages or so ago, long before you were even thinking about being born, I was an imaginary friend. Then, before I knew what was happening, I was suddenly as real as a dog's tail. I had become unimaginary. But that was a lifetime or 3 ago. Nowadays, I concern myself with those ifs who have been recently unimagined, wherever they may appear, so does old Mr. Keys. For these fantabulant fingers of mine open doors to anywhere and elsewhere. Hidden worlds, secret places, doors to the limitless realm of all imagination. Oh, glorious burden! These keys have opened more doors than you have had the biscuits in your lifetime. And each door has led to adventure that would make a head spin from its neck. The stories I could tell you. But of course, you would not be here if you didn't want a story. Well, never fear, Daily Wagners. Today, I have a humdum dinner of a tale to make even the soundest mind loop-a-doop. Brace your breeches for the truly unbelievably true tale I have called The Legend of Captain Jack Tooth. Captain Jack, thief, adventurer, champion of imagining. Jack was a friend to some, hero to others, and a right pain in the rumplings for every folk else. The flabbergasting fable of Gap-Toothed Jack is even older than I. But to find our way to the past, we must begin in the present with a second story and a boy named Caspar. So, we go to Caspar. And that is Caspar. As you can see, he's cozy in his home watching TV. It's raining outside. And that's the front door. So keep an eye on that door. Not literally, obviously. Okay, so how it goes. Oh yeah. Knock, knock, knock. Caspar was lying on the living room floor watching his third favorite episode of Howie House's Haunted Trousers when the knock came. "Mom," he called, not taking his eyes off the television. The sound of the thunderstorm outside swallowed his call. "Dad, someone's at the door." Lazy little bugger. There was no answer from the kitchen. Caspar wasn't about to move, not with the episode reaching its haunting high point. He turned up the volume as thunder clapped outside. Then, click-clunk, a key turned in the lock. Caspar sat up. Everyone was in the kitchen. Mom, Dad, Jacob, the twins. So who was unlocking the front door? A cold shiver ran down Caspar's back. He got to his feet and turned to see the door creak slowly open. Rain lashed in the lightning forked in the night sky, illuminating a tall, lean figure standing in the doorway. And here's the doorway. And here he is. There's little boy. There's skeleton keys at the doorway. Scary. Scary, scary, scary. I'll probably faint. Okay, we'll carry on. "Forgive my intrudings," the figure said. "I fear that if I do not come in, I might drown in the thundersome weather." The figure took off a wide three-peaked hat to reveal a grinning bone-white skull. Caspar gasped and stumbled backwards until he was pressed against the television. "Fret not, I'm not so spine-chilling as I look," the skeleton said as he stepped inside. "I'm afraid skinless is how I came into this world, so skinless is how I remain." Caspar tried to call out, but fear caught the cry in his throat. "My name is Keys, Skeleton Keys," the skeleton continued, placing his hat on the nearby sofa and shaking the raindrops from his coat. "And you need not to be afeard. After all, you brought me here." I did?" Caspar blurted. "Well, someone did," replied Skeleton Keys, glancing around. "For although I was far that away in the comfort of my dominion, I felt the twitch, that most soul-clattering rattle of the bones that alerts me to a new unimagining." I don't understand," Caspar replied. "Somewhere in this house is an if, an imaginary friend, that has been brought to life," Skeleton declared. "Have you not noticed anything oddish or outlandish of late? Unimaginary friends do tend to be accompanied by the most flabbergasting freakery." I don't know about you. Wait." Caspar scratched the back of his head, the fog of fear clearing a little. "Like what happened to Vortigern?" he asked. "Who?" "My friend. I mean, not my real friend," Caspar replied. "Except now she is." "Now she's your real friend? Or now she's real?" Skeleton Keys asked, leaning towards him. "Really real," Caspar explained. "How real? As real as a vivid dream, as real as a stubbed toe, as real as rock cakes." "I was thinking about her, and all of a sudden, she wasn't in my head anymore. She was right there in front of me. She was unimaginary," Skeleton Keys interrupted. "I knew it. My twitch was right on the money. Now tell me, Caspar, where is the Vortigern?" Caspar pointed to a door at the far end of the room, in the kitchen with everyone else. "Then fret not, old Mr. Keys is on the case," declared Skeleton Keys, taking long, deliberate strides towards the kitchen. He pushed open the door and strode inside to find Caspar's family sitting around a small white table. "Dogs and cats," Skeleton gasped. "Mom, Dad, this is Mr. Keys," said Caspar, following in behind. "How do you do, Mr. Keys?" said Caspar's mom. "May I offer you a cup of tea?" "I'm afraid it would have nowhere to go," replied Skeleton Keys. "Thank you all the same." "Then something to eat?" added Caspar's mom. "Carrots!" cried Caspar's dad. "It's always carrots with you," said Caspar's mom. Skeleton Keys scratched his skull with a key-tipped finger before ushering Caspar to a corner of the kitchen. "Forgive me for asking," he whispered, "but are you sure this is your real family?" "What? Yeah," replied Caspar. "What do you mean?" "It is just that I could not help but notice that your father is a very large rabbit." And when he says that, he means this. There's his dad. He is the rabbit. Caspar looked at his dad. Sure enough, he was a brown-grey rabbit the size of a bear. Caspar shrugged. "Well, what else would he be?" he said. "Carrots! Carrots!" shouted the enormous rabbit, thumping his great foot against the floor. "I also note," Skeleton Keys continued, "that your mother is Is what?" Caspar's mother interrupted. She stood on the kitchen table, her hands on her hips. She was no taller than a teacup. "These are modern times, Mr. Keys. Families come in all shapes and sizes." And if you will notice, his mom is right there. There she is, really, really little. Size of a dad and mummy. And these are, by the way, these are the twins, the little elephants. And older brother, you won't believe it. There he is. He's just a sock. Just a sock. I mean, this is quite interesting. and freaky story. But before I spoil it for you, sorry. So yeah, families come in all shapes and sizes indeed. Quite so, but Asher the skeleton gazing in bafflement at a pair of hamster-sized sky blue elephants huddled together in a high chair on the other side of the table. That's Sophie and Ingrid, they're twins, Casper explained as both elephants let out an identical trumpeting sound. Then he pointed to a sock puppet with buttons for eyes, draped lifelessly on the kitchen table. And that's my big brother Jacob. Don't mind him. You'll be lucky to get 2 words out of him all year. Casper's tiny mother tutted as Skeleton Keys leaned in to inspect the sock puppet. I can't even talk anymore. You know what teenagers are like. Right, that's the first chapter done. And that's the next chapter. It's called Wardy Gurdy. So we get to meet his imaginary friend. Okay. Crumb Crinkles, said Skeleton Keys, gazing around the room with Casper's decidedly unconventional family. Who did all this? Did all what? Casper asked. Carrots, boomed Casper's dad. Why this, and this, and this, and by my buckles, this? Skeleton Keys cried, pointing at each of Casper's family members in turn. Who transformed, transmogrified, and transfigured these poor daily wanglers? You're not trying to tell me that your father has always been a rabbit? Always? Replied Casper, as if the word had suddenly illuminated a hidden memory. I mean, I don't remember him being anything else, but I guess I don't really remember him being a rabbit either. I do believe you are as confundeled as your family is converted, and that is the work of unimaginary, declared Skeleton Keys, craning low to eyeball Casper. Where is your if, Casper? Where is... Didn't do it! The cry came from inside a low cupboard at the far end of the kitchen. Skeleton Keys tilted his head with a dry creak, his milk-white eyeballs fixing upon a rattling cupboard door. He reached the cupboard in 2 long strides. It rattled again as he wrapped his key-tipped fingers around the door handle. Wardy-gurdy, is that? Didn't do it. And that is Wardy-gurdy. She flies. The cupboard doors were suddenly flung open from the inside, sending Skeleton Keys flying. A strange, ghostly girl burst from within and hovered, impossibly in the air. She flitted around the room in panic before finally settling in the far corner of the kitchen, like a bee exhausted from buzzing around the window. Though she was solid enough, the girl was faintly see-through and emitted a greenish-white glow. Wardy-gurdy, I presume, said Skeleton Keys, dusting himself off. Gurdy didn't do it. Gurdy didn't change a thing. Everything like this already. The ghoulish girl hovered in the air again, her hair floating above her head as if she was underwater. In her right hand she held a large brush-tipped pen. Cheese and biscuits, she's a ghost writer? Skeleton Keys gasped, a peal of thunder echoing outside. Well, that explains everything. What explains everything? Asked Casper. Yours is a wild and wonder-filled mind, Casper. After all, what more fantabulous friend could you wish for than one who could change everything? A friend who could rewrite the story of your life. Why, it could be anything you want. An explorer, a swashbuckler, a run for fun, swing the sword gadabout who lives only for adventure? But Casper began. Carrots, bellowed Casper's dad. But then you imagined your if so wildly and so well that she suddenly became as real as wrapping paper, continued Skeleton Keys. You made Vortigern unimaginary, Casper, and now her ability to rewrite stories is as real as she. Don't listen, Vortigern wailed. I don't understand, Casper said. The pen is the tool for creation. Words flow from the mind to the pen like water from the tap. But your if and her pen has a peculiar power. When Vortigern writes, she rewrites reality itself. Don't listen, Gertie begged. Gertie didn't change. Gertie stayed the same. Vortigern has rewritten your family stories one by one. She turned your father into a rabbit. Your mother is no bigger than a folded handkerchief. Elephants and socks? Skeleton Keys continued. Ghostwriters do not care to reveal themselves, Casper. Vortigern was sure to make her changes so well written that your mind is clouded to the true story. But old Mr. Keys knows a plot hole when he sees one. Plot hole? No plot hole, Vortigern shrieked. Didn't do it. Skeleton Keys swept across the kitchen to the fridge. It was covered in photographs, secured with fruit-shaped magnets. The skeleton slipped to a photograph from under the magnetic strawberry and held it out to Casper. Behold your real family. And that is what Casper sees. The photograph. Mom, Dad, teenage boy, Casper in the middle, and twins in there. Still weird though, but at least they're human on that picture. Casper peered at the picture. There he was in the center, smiling wildly, and surrounded by a man, a woman, and 3 more children. Didn't do it, Gertie squealed. My family, said Casper. The realization slapped him in the face like a wet fish. He glanced back at the strange collection of creatures at the table. I remember. Carrots, declared the rabbit. Stop, not real, this real, Vortigern cried, sweeping across the room and snatching the photograph from Skeleton Key's bony hand. She came to a halt in front of the fridge and began tearing over the photographs. Don't look. Vortigern, no sooner were you imagined that he began transforming this poor family into a bunch of who knows whatleys. Well, old Mr. Keys is here to tell you, you have no right to rewrite. Cease your mad modifications this instant. Vortigern turned slowly and glowed at the skeleton. No, Gertie does what Gertie does. Gertie writes. Gertie writes you. With that, Vortigern drew her pen swiftly through the air, dragging streaks of green light with each stroke. Up, down, looping and dashing, as if writing on some invisible canvas. In a moment, she had written a word in the air, and the word was tomato. Naive creature, old Mr. Keys is far too wordy-wise to be rewritten by an unruly unimaginary, declared Skeleton Keys, failing to notice that he suddenly had a bright red tomato in place of a head. No revision you envision will affect me. Now surrender that paranormal pen at once. Never, Gertie writes. It is what Gertie does. It is what Gertie is, Gertie cried out again. Gertie will rewrite everything. Daisy, I do believe that is your cue, said Skeleton Keys. Now. Right, I think it's getting a bit late, so I'm just gonna trying to speak a bit lower and lower down, or whisper, okay? So, is called The Pen. So, apparently when Daisy is coming out to the scene, that's what she does to Woody Gertie. She sends her flying. So, in an instant, the fridge door swung open, smacking straight into Woody Gertie with an almighty slam. Oof, grunted Woody Gertie as she crashed into the nearby cupboard, her pen flying from her hand and skittering across the floor. "Time's up, girl, pens down," said a voice as Caspar huddled around the table with his family. He watched in horror as a peculiar figure appeared out of thin air. She looked like a girl of about 6, with pigtails, a striped dress, and an impish, lopsided grin. And everything about Daisy was grey, as if she had escaped from a black and white photograph. And her head was on the back to front. That's an interesting look. "May I present my unimaginary partner in problem-solving, Daisy," said Skeleton Keys, spitting out tomato seeds as he spoke. He gave a key-tip thumbs up to the girl with a backwards head. "Fantabulous work, Daisy. I do believe I'm coming around to your dramatic last-minute entrance. And I'm getting used to saving your useless bones," sneered Daisy, rolling her eyes at the obliviously tomato-headed Skeleton Keys. Then, with an awkward twist, she picked up Woody Gertie's pen from the floor. "I'm keeping this, by the way." "Pen? Pen?" howled Woody Gertie. Shut up," Daisy replied, brandishing the pen. "You might be a match for Tomato Head here, but I can see right through your rewrites. Why? Because I'm Daisy, that's why. There is no one like me. I'm bad behavior with backwards head. And if you mess with me, I'll shove this pen that far up your nose you'll smell it in your brain." "Bad girl, give pen," Woody Gertie cried out in panic. With a shriek, she flung herself at Daisy, a mad look in her eye. "I'll show you who's bad, you," was all Daisy had time to say before Woody Gertie collided with her, sending the pen flying once more. "Got it," said Skeleton Key, snatching the pen as if spiraled through the air. "Well flung, Daisy." "Carrots!" cried Caspar's dad, as Caspar ducked under the table. "Get off, you grotty ghost!" Daisy snarled, giving Woody Gertie a shove. The ghostly girl floated into the air, the eyes darting about for her pen. "Woody Gertie, you scammering do-no-good missing something?" the skeleton cried. "Pen, Gertie, pen!" Woody Gertie howled as thunder struck again. Skeleton Keys thrust his left thumb into the keyhole. With a click-clunk he pulled the door ajar and held out the pen. "Come no closer, for I have opened the door to a secret place only I know." "Place? What place?" "If I told you, it would not be secret now, would it?" "Undo your rewrites and restore reality, Woody Gertie. If you do not undo, it will be your undoing, for I shall fling this pen into the who knows where, and you shall never see it again." "No, not pen, Gertie needs." "Gertie will undo." With that, she stuck her fingers in her ears and puffed out cheeks. Everyone froze. A moment later, there was a pop, and everything changed. There you go. Next chapter. It's called Time's Up. And That's how she pop everything back to normal reality. The echoing pop was not like a soap bubble or even a balloon. This was the sound of everything popping, of reality itself popping back into shape. I can taste carrots, said a voice. Caspar turned to see his dad, no longer an enormous rabbit. The rest of his family was seemingly restored. Caspar's mother towered over him as well as she should, and his brothers and sisters were as human as you might expect. Much better, said Skeleton Keys, blissfully unaware that his tomato head was a skull once more. Mr. Bone, give pen, Vortigern wailed. Mr. Bones promised, she screamed as Skeleton Keys flung the door wide. You want this pen, Ruggleslugger? Go fetch it, said Skeleton. With that, he tossed the pen out of the doorway. The ghostly girl swooped straight past the skeleton and pursued the pen outside with a desperate howl. And that, added Skeleton Keys, is how you solve a problem like Vortigern. I'm sorry, cried Caspar, running into his parents' arms with tears in his eyes. I didn't mean to imagine her. Imagine who? Said Big Brother. As Caspar looked up to him. No, see, I can't really talk anymore. As Caspar looked up at him, it was already hard to imagine he was once a sock puppet. Do not blame yourself, Caspar. Imaginations are flabbergasting at the best of times, explained Skeleton Keys, glancing out of the door. Some unimaginaries are simply too wild, too unruly, too tottering and rottering. They do not understand that the world beyond the imagine has rules. Well, I thought they were better as rabbits and socks, huffed Daisy. She peered out through the open door. The first thing she noticed was that it was a stormy night outside. In fact, it was no longer night at all. Nor was there any sign of the city. Instead, Daisy saw a green forest in bright daylight. Leafy trees jutted from a thick blanket of grey-white fog, and Vortigern appeared and disappeared from the mist, frantically searching the forest floor for her lost pen. So where did you send her? Daisy asked. Vortigern's villainy is a thing of the past, literally, Skeleton Keys explained. For this is the key to time. Ah, I hate when you do time travel. It always goes wrong, said Daisy. Piffle chips. I have sent Vortigern in the distant past, he replied, turning away from the door. Now the rampant rewriter has a couple of centuries to think about what she's done. Old Mr. Keys does it again. Everything has gone according to my plan. Excuse me, Caspar said. Plan? Pfft, you were getting tomato headed nowhere before I turned up to save the day. You useless bag of bones, replied Daisy. I don't know how you coped so long without me. Excuse me, said Caspar. Pufflewinkles, continued Skeleton Keys. Need I remind you I was dealing with errant unimaginaries before you were so much as a twinkle in mine's eye? For you see, with these 10 remarkable keys and a healthy dollop of fabulous funambulance, there is nothing that cannot be. Excuse me. Skeleton Keys turned to Caspar. The boy's arm was outstretched as he pointed a trembling finger towards the back door. Skeleton Keys and Daisy turned. Vortigern floated, still and silent, above the blanket of fog. And she was holding her pen. Found it, Vortigern said in a strange, sing-song tone, and began to drag her pen through the air once more. Shut the door, now, Daisy snapped. But it was too late. Vortigern's pen arced arced through the air as swiftly as a sword, up and down, round and round, streaking through the air as it lit up the sky with a single word. The word read, keys. Have you learned nothing unimaginary? Your pen has no power over me, not as long as I have these 9 keys to protect me. Skeleton Keys scoffed, admiring his key-tipped fingers. Then he grabbed the door handle and began to push it closed. I'm sorry, but your time is well and truly... Wait, interrupted Daisy. Did you say 9 keys? So, next chapter. Past tense. That's what it's called. Past tense. Right. Right. 9 keys, flabberjabs, replied Skeleton Keys, wiggling his fingers proudly. I have always had 7 remarkable keys. Here they are for the counting. Daisy peered at Skeleton's bone digits. The keys on his left hand were present and accounted for, but his right hand had no keys at all. It was as if they were never there. 7? You're down to 5, you dummy. 5? But I have never had more than 4 keys. Look. Sure enough, another key had vanished. You stupid bag of bones, it's her, snapped Daisy. She's writing your keys out of your story. Gertie, said Caspar. He glanced out of the back door again to see a warty Gertie hovering above the forest floor, a victorious grin spreading across her face. Daisy fixed her glare upon the key at the end of the Skeleton Key's left index finger. Suddenly it was just a finger. The key was gone. It was never there. You stupid skeleton, you don't even see it, do you? Both of my keys are just fine, thank you very much. I do not think that we shall have any more surprises today. Not as long as I have my wonder-feeling one and only key. Skeleton Keys gave Daisy a thumbs up, and she watched in horror as the final key, the key to time, began to fade out of existence. And as it faded, so did the portal into the past. Ugh, time travel is always more trouble than it's worth. Daisy snarled. You owe me for this bone back. For what? Said Skeleton Keys. What are you Oh! Daisy shoved Skeleton Keys as hard as she could. They both stumbled through the doorway. A moment later, the skeleton's final key vanished from the existence, and with it the portal between the present and the past. They landed in a crumpled heap between 2 trees. Pen belongs to Gertie, cried Warty Gertie with a breathy cackle. Gertie writes everything. Daisy pulled herself slowly to her feet, mad rage burning in her strange grey eyes. Give me that pen, or I'll turn your head the same way as mine, and I'll really give you something to cry about. Ah, not take, not pen, wailed the girlish and imaginary. And that's Daisy. She's funny, isn't she? With that, Gertie darted through the air, weaving between the trees, before vanishing into the fog. Get back here, so I can shove that pen up your nose, Daisy shouted, as Skeleton Key suddenly loomed behind her. Daisy, he barked, dusting himself off with the bone fingers. I'm well aware you crave a level of lunacy that anyone else would consider bad for the humorous, but this must be your most confuddling behavior to date. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Daisy sneered. You didn't even see Warty Gertie coming. She rewrote your story, and you didn't even realize. Pop Timples, I think I would know Warty Gertie had rewritten the tale of the old Mr. Keys. Daisy let out a growl and grabbed his hands. The things you should know, but don't, could fill a swimming pool, bomb bag. she tatted, holding his keyless fingers up in front of his face. She took your keys. What keys? Asked Skeleton. Ugh, Daisy snapped, flinging her arms in the air. What was I thinking? Wasting my time with a broken brain bag of bones. I should have ditched you months ago. You sent Gal Girl back in time and then left the door open. If I hadn't shoved us through the doorway, you would have lost your only chance of getting your keys back. I can't be stuck 200 years ago. I've got things to do and people to torment. Fret not, Daisy. If Warty-Gurty has indeed rewritten the story, I can assure you I am not less impressive for it, declared Skeleton Keys. If what you are telling me is correct, that rag-slugging rewriter has managed to write my niece out of existence. Keys, not niece, you dummy. Precisely. So all we need to do is find Warty-Gurty here in the past and seize her paranormal pen once more. She will have no choice but to undo her manual modifications, thus restoring my trees. Keys. Exactly. Then we can banish her pesky pen once and for all. And return forthwith to the present and complete with my fantabulant, I want to say peas. Keys. What would you want? Of course not peas. Keys, keys, Daisy yelled. Then she took a deep breath and straightened her dress. Okay, fine. Let's find pen. You dreadful stealer. See the pen. Oh, he's going to be looking for ghosts or in haystack and then in the fork. The Skeleton Keys turned his head with a dry creak. Perhaps not, he said, peering beyond the forest. The fog stretched out over the patchwork of rolling, grassy fields, dotted with trees, until the far distance it met the city. It was far smaller than once they had left in the present, an ominous dark shadow of a place that coughed up thick, sky-darkening plumes of charcoal smoke. There, he said, pointing a keyless finger towards the smoke. Warty-Gurty lives to rewrite reality. She will go where the stories are. Looks like the sort of place I could start trouble. Let's go. Indeed, let us not dilly-dally. We will get my lost cheese back in no time. You know what, forget it. Okay. Next chapter. It's called Into the City. The Dark Forest. Oh, see? It's the city. 200 years ago. Scary people. Actually, you know what? I think we're done. I think we're done for tonight. Because it's getting pretty late. I think the city is kind of beginning of the whole new chapter. So come on, go to bed. Night night.